Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about the 38 Special. Okay? And I'm not so much talking about the 38 Special guns. What I'm really talking about is the 38 Special cartridge. And what I want to talk about is, does it have a place in today's world? And I used to be a very big believer in, 38 Special, great gun to carry. Reliable. I used to, I basically I used to kind of believe in that, and over the last 5 or 6 years, I've kind of gotten away from that, because I believe that there's much better, lighter options out there. The thing with the 38 Special is that this was originally a black powder cartridge. Okay, so when this was a black powder cartridge, the whole case would get filled up with black powder. Okay. When they switched over to smokeless powder, okay, this is one of the few cartridges that actually made it from the black powder era into the modern smokeless era. So when they switched over to smokeless, what they did is they cut the volume by basically down to about a third. Okay, so basically 75 to 50% of this is empty on the inside. Okay, so you have this big cartridge over here that's mostly air on the inside. Okay, depending on what type of powder that you're using, you might be filling up half the case. In some cases, with certain powders, you're only filling up about a quarter of the case. So you have this big cartridge here that's mostly empty, and this is the reason why basically this is the parent round of the 357. Because back in the 30s, somebody said, hey, you know what? Let's fill up the whole thing and see what happens. And that's how the 357 was born. Okay, and what they did is they then made the case a little bit longer so you wouldn't accidentally put a 357 round into a 38 Special gun and blow that gun up. Okay? So the 38 Special itself is mostly empty on the inside, and that's the reason why a 9mm, which is a lot smaller than this, will generate more power. A 9mm, if we're looking at target ammo here, right? If we're looking just at target ammo, a 9mm will typically come in, let's say around 330, 340 foot-pounds of energy. Okay, so let's just say 340. Whereas with the 38 Special, okay, even though it's much bigger, they will typically come in on average at 200 foot-pounds. It's quite often they'll come in at 155 foot-pounds. But sometimes they will come in a little bit hotter than that. Sometimes I've seen them come in as high as 250 foot-pounds. And that's really usually with the plus P's and stuff like that. But I'll be generous and I'll say 200 foot-pounds of the 38 Special versus the versus the 330, 340 foot-pounds of the 9mm. Okay, now looking at it from, let's just say that we think that the 200 foot-pounds is acceptable, which in most cases it is, for up close self-defense. Let's say that the 200 foot-pounds is acceptable. Well, basically you have the 380. Okay, the 380, is basically about half the size. Okay, so you got about half the size in the 380 that has pretty much the same power as the 38 Special. So by the cartridge being small, that means that your gun can also be small. So if we look at a typical 38 Special that people will carry, like this one over here, I weighed this just a little while ago. This one came in at 1 pound 9 ounces. Okay, and then I have my Ruger 380, right? This is an LCP. This came in at 8 ounces. Okay, so basically this revolver is a full pound heavier than this semi-automatic, and you're getting the same power out of it. And of course, not only is it lighter, but it's also more compact. Okay, as I hold the two side by side, okay, you can see how the 380 is smaller, more compact. More than anything, I think you see that you can't really get away from the cylinder, which is going to bulge out. So the thickness is really a bigger issue for me, because if you're carrying this inside the waistband, that cylinder is going to basically stick out a lot more. And like I said, it's 1.5 pounds compared to a half pound in this one. So the ammunition is lighter, it's smaller on the 380, and subsequently the guns are also lighter and smaller. Now, one of the arguments for the 38 Special, has been that is more reliable because it is a revolver that is a manually operated gun, in the sense that every time you squeeze the trigger, it rotates the cylinder, the hammer drops. The action is not dependent on the recoil, okay? Because with the semi-automatic, the cycling of the gun is dependent on a recoil, okay? So if your ammunition is bad, if you get a misfire, the gun is not going to cycle. With the revolver, if you get a misfire, you simply squeeze the trigger again, it'll rotate to the next chamber, okay? Now, in practice, what I have found, I have found that that's really not the case, in the sense that with revolvers, okay, what I have been finding over the last 10 years I've been doing this, if you're shooting and training in a realistic type of environment, and I don't mean, well, for some people, if you're in an office all day, yeah, you're probably not going to get dirt and sand in the gun. But if you're out in the woods and you're working, working with dirt, working with the, with the environment, okay. If the gun falls into the ground, and it's very easy to get dirt in the gears of the gun, okay, and that's going to prevent the gun from cycling, okay. And I believe that that's one of the main reasons that the Army got away from revolvers about as fast as they could. Okay, they switched over to semi-automatics. They went from I think they had some type of they had 38s, and I also believe they even experimented with a 45 version of 45 version revolver. I think it had moon clips or something like that. Basically, that's something very vague in the back of my mind. But the point is that they wanted to get away from revolvers and go to semi-automatics, because with the semi-automatic, if this falls into sand or dirt, basically the gun is closed. Okay, so, dirt is not going to get into the action. It's not going to get into the rails where this thing is going back and forth if it falls on the ground. Or the only time that dirt can get into this gun is while you're actually shooting. Okay, so basically you'd have to be like shooting, with your hand in the dirt, more or less. Okay. Whereas, so if you just drop the gun, or if it falls, you're not going to get dirt, that's going to get into the action. Whereas with the revolver, if this falls into sand or dirt, basically, I mean, as you look through this, you can see daylight through here. You can get stuff in there that will prevent that cylinder from rotating. So for that reason, I don't believe that you can say that the revolver is more reliable, okay, in a realistic type of environment, certainly in my environment. And the other thing is that the revolver is simply more expensive. I mean, most, even a 38 Special, which is, at this point, the kind, I mean, the sort of outdated guns, I mean, they still go for $500 to $600, $700. Even if you get in like a Taurus or something, okay. Whereas like with this Ruger 380, I mean, you can get these close to $200. So these guns are cheaper. I mean, the guns are cheaper and they're smaller, so they're easier to carry. With some training, it's easy to unjam the gun. I mean, you do have to practice with some jam. You have to practice with some dummy loads that are going to force you to clear jams. Not that they're likely to happen, but they can happen. One of the issues that I have found with small guns like this is, I actually prefer full metal jacket to hollow points, because with the hollow points, sometimes those edges, they can catch on the way in, and create a jamming issue. Usually, if that happens, all it is a matter of just hitting the back of the gun to push it through. So that is something that can happen with hollow points in small guns like this that have a light spring, because this doesn't have the heavier spring of, let's say, a 9mm to really to push that round forward as fast. So because it's a lighter spring, you can have a feeding issue with hollow points. You will, but you can. But here's the thing: what I find is that with hollow points, okay, you know, basically neither the 38 special nor the 380, I believe, have enough energy and velocity to reliably expand the bullet. Okay, you know, and expansion basically works on liquid. So if you fire any hollow point into, let's say, wood or something, it's not going to expand. It may deform, but it's not going to expand because of the hollow point. The way hollow points work is that basically the body's like something like 80%, 90% water. So when this hits water, that pressure causes the expansion. So the 380 and the 38 special, neither of these will reliably expand. Not that they'll never expand, but I don't think that they will reliably expand. So you know, my thoughts are just go with just plain full metal jacket and save your money. They're still both more expensive than 9mm. I mean, lately I've been buying my 9mm, you know, my practice ammo, for about, you know, $8 a box. You know, both of these are still in the 15 to, you know, they're under $20, but they're somewhere between $15 and $20 per box. You know, 50 rounds. So let's say an average of $17. So you're paying an extra $10 per box of 50 rounds to shoot either of these guns. So by far 9mm is the better practice choice. But, you know, I mean, there is a benefit to carrying a really light gun. This is really comfortable. This is really small. You carry this inside your waistband. You're not going to feel like you have a gun on you because the thing only weighs half a pound. So there's a real benefit to this. I don't see the benefit to this. I mean, I've tried it. I've tried carrying it. You know, it kind of feels like an anchor, especially if you're used to carrying this. Okay. If there's no riots, if there's riots and crazy stuff going on around town, I'm not going to carry either one of these guns. I'm going to basically carry, you know, a full-size Glock or a Sig, or you know, I'm going to carry a duty gun. You know, so something that has a 15 to 17 round capacity, as opposed to this one, which has a 5-round, and this one has a 6-round. Is it 6 round? You got 6 plus 1, so you get 7 rounds with it. So that's another benefit of the semi-automatic. You will typically get some extra ammo out of it, and also it's a faster reload. Okay, not that if you carry a gun like this, you typically don't carry an extra magazine because you're really not expecting to have a problem. But if you do have an extra magazine, this is a lot easier to change than reloading this gun. Now, even if you're using speed loaders, I mean, first of all, these speed loaders, they're round, they do take up more space in your pocket. But even with speed loaders, you know, sometimes getting it in there, you know, sometimes they don't work as you know, under a stressful situation, they sometimes don't work as well as they do when you're at the range. Okay, I'll tell you guys that. So those are my thoughts on the 38 special. It's a it's a fun, you know, obviously I own 38s and I shoot 38s. One of the benefits I have found of the 38s is that, you know, if you have somebody that you're training that's really skittish about recoil, and if you reload, you can really power these down. You know, you can power these down to the point where you know, you're getting like almost like 22, almost like the recoil of a 22. You just gotta be careful that you don't get squiblows where the bullets get stuck in the barrel. But you can't, if you reload, you can power down the 38 specials. You know, if you're training somebody that's really skittish about recoil. You know, but in most cases, you're just mostly better off training them with 22s. But like I said, that is something that you can do with the 38 special. I've tried it a couple of times. You know, it's not something that I do regularly, but that is a possibility with the semi-automatics. You can't power down the ammo because it has to have enough. You know, it has to have enough of a pressure to cycle the gun. So those are my thoughts. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a member, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.